Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Brevoort Homes podcast. I'm here again with my buddy Julian, and we are going to dive into what is important for home buyers. We kind of ended the last podcast talking about kind of FOMO and making bad decisions and not being able to sell your house, and I think a really good topic, which this is what the topic is what in your world have you found that people either miss or that you see that clients fight over or end up being really smart decisions in buying a home?
So a recent example is, let's take Culver City, really high demand area. And there's a particular neighborhood in Culver City that's very desirable. And I currently have a client who is looking to buy. They just had, again, a kid, life decision, looking to maybe grow their space. They're currently living in a 2-bedroom, but eventually know that they need to get a home, ideally with 3 bedrooms. So they actually wanted me to put an offer on a home that ended up getting 42 offers. And we're talking about right now in this slower climate, right?
Wow.
But as mentioned in the earlier
It's
episode,
like a dream for
for the listing agent,
yeah, the listing.
but it's also a lot of offers to get through, right? And try
Yeah.
and think
Well, that's
about
the whole
presenting
the
42
magic
offers.
thing is to get a buying war going, right? For
Yeah,
the
yeah.
seller. So
And
we
they
got obviously there's two sides to it all.
And they achieved that, but I think they went a little bit too under the market. That's easily a $1.5 million
Right.
product.
But isn't that like a strategy too?
It is, but I
Yeah.
think you don't need to go that low.
It's like the bidding war strategy.
It is,
Yeah.
but they on a $1.5 million market, they listed this thing at 1.1. So it tells
Right.
you they went way under,
Yeah.
right? To get
30% discount. off the
like
top.
42 offers. I mean, you would have already done really well with 10 offers.
Right. Because you're going to get people that think that they might be able to get it. Like out of those 42 people, their budget might be 1.1.
Correct.
And they can't afford 1.4.
Exactly.
So you're wasting your time.
You are wasting by getting
Yeah.
out of those. Like I'll give you an example. We came
Right.
in at 1.25, right? So I mean, and the number we found out ended up having to be over like 1.5, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's why it's
Yeah.
like we just they should have just
Wiped
started,
out, like,
got rid of
yeah.
us, or got us to start a little bit higher. But the reason why that home was so loved was it was a renovated home, very turnkey, ready to be moved in, and it had a very functional, at least from my client's perspective, had the 3 bedrooms that you need, and then also offered a very functional kitchen and dining room. In their mind, it was all about their ability to host. It's like, if we're going to upgrade from our little 2-bedroom, we want to also not be able to just have our child be able to play in the home, but we want to be able to entertain. And so that was a big
So there's
thing.
kind of like this checklist of like, okay, do you have kids, right? And
First
even
and
if you
foremost.
don't have kids, you still want an office space or a
Yes.
guest room, right? So
Yeah.
unless it's like your first home and you're a bachelor, like you usually want like minimum 2-2, but 2-3. And if you're gonna have kids, a 2-3 will still work, but you might need a 2-4, or a 3-4 even, if you have 2 kids. So it's like, those are big deals with depending on who your client is.
Yeah. And to future-proof your home.
And to future proof
Right?
it.
Yeah, because you're talking about also if you wanted to exit because life happens, and being able to retain the highest possible resale value, at a minimum, you want 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like, you're always thinking about, at least the families that are buying into your place are always thinking
Right.
about, where are my kids going to be?
Right.
Do I have the option to have 2 kids and have a guest suite for
Right.
my in-laws that visit, or any friends that visit?
Right.
So you always want that optionality, and that's
Right.
why it's always 3 bedrooms is
Right.
the minimum that
Right.
families generally look for.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot. And if you're starting out and you're single, you should have that like kind of concept of like, okay, I'm going to buy this house and I'm buying it with 1 or 2 bedrooms just because I can afford it.
My starter
But
home.
yeah, my starter home, and I'm gonna probably have to get out of this at some point. So what's gonna make this sell when I need to upgrade to a 3-2?
Right. Right.
Or
Exactly.
maybe eventually a 4-2 or a 4-3.
So even better, it's if you're willing to even do some renovations or some value add improvements, like maybe you can even
Right.
turn a 2-bed
Right.
into a 3-bed.
So
if
what
it
would
had
you
that.
what would you call? I know kitchens obviously are huge. Kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, those are at the top of the charts.
Yeah.
Obviously you can do basic stuff like paint and floors.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
I know they talk about like adding like decks is usually a pretty good ROI,
Yeah,
and if you have like a yard space,
right.
But then there's the opposite where like pools are very popular, but I've heard that, adding a pool or especially getting a used pool can just become a nightmare.
Yes.
If you're not planning on just staying there and keeping it. It's not necessarily like it's kind of eye candy, but
But it's an expensive maintenance item.
yes.
And so I'll take you to another client who's shopping for this client is looking in the $3 to $4 million range and has been one of his criteria is a pool. Because again,
Mhm.
he loves to entertain. He wants to be able to entertain guests. So his thing is having a pool so he can entertain guests. Like so outdoor space is key. He looked at a home recently and when they did the home inspections on the pool, they found out that I guess the membrane had cracks in it. And that's not a small
Yeah, you're
fix.
better off with just dirt,
You are,
building a
because
brand
when
new
you
one.
have a membrane
Yeah.
crack, it's potentially a structural issue with the pool. Not only do you have to drain the pool, you got to demolish that, and then you got to look behind the membrane to see if the
Yeah.
structural behind it is sound. And so it ended up amounting to anywhere between
It's like
70,000 to
polishing a turd.
110,000 different wrapping, but it's still shit underneath, right? It's like, yeah, so you can only disguise it so much. But then there's the ongoing maintenance as well. So not only does your insurance increase from
Yeah.
having a pool for liability purposes, people drowning, you have to have certain code compliant features of security gates. And that's talking about that when you talk about a gate around a pool, it's not just around the perimeter itself. It's in case your neighbor decides to just come in and use your backyard. That's really what it's designed for. So
Mhm.
you have to beef up the security, even the pedestrian gates, just for your yard in general. That
I've
comes
heard
with a
those
pool.
stories,
Yeah,
like where people come
people
and
do that. Your neighbors,
in
it's cool.
town and they go
Justin's
jump in
not
your
going to
pool and
care.
then
Yeah, I'm going to
crack their
swim in his
head,
pool.
and then they get sued for it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
it's
your
just
fault.
like, my
Yeah,
God.
because you didn't prevent
Right,
them from being able to just come in and
right.
freely use your pool.
Yeah.
So it
And
actually
then
comes with a
no
lot of liability.
trespassing signs don't count?
Well, you need to run that up to our state and maybe get that approved because that'd be such an easier fix.
Oh my God.
Um,
Yeah. So yeah, pools, I'm still dreaming for a pool. The custom home I'm building in Playa, I'm planning on doing a plunge pool in a courtyard, but it's surrounded. It's a there's an atrium kind of. It's a kind of like two separate homes with breeze walls of concrete that it's locked in. So there's light and everything. It feels outdoor. It's like the yards inside of your home.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And so, somebody would have to
It's
really,
not
they'd
that
have to jump
accessible.
like 20 feet off the roof to get into the pools. But yeah, no, that's important. And then, so back to, so like, other than square footage, obviously that's critical depending on your lifestyle and if you have family or not, or if you work from home so those are
Yeah.
big dogs. Kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels.
Yes.
Those are like top dogs.
Those are important. But I think
Yes.
if you're ranking them in order, I think COVID kind of changed some dynamics too. But let's just to say this, we're living in a post-COVID era. So outdoor space actually became so a second to square footage and bedroom
Mhm.
count. The next up there was outdoor
Right.
space,
Which is
private
really
outdoor
hard
space.
around here. Like
It is
if you live in a more rural area and have homes that have come with like acreage,
Yeah,
even a quarter acre,
yeah.
but when you're
For your
in
tractors
a
and whatever.
city,
Yeah,
that gets a lot more difficult,
it does.
obviously, and it becomes a higher priority.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because out here we have like a standard 5,000 square foot lot. And I will tell you, in my
Well, not
5,000
by the
square foot
beach.
lot,
There's 1,300 square foot lots all over the
that's
place
right.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just concrete to
oh,
creek.
yeah, that's right. But then the beach is it's kind of your amenity, your
That
outdoor
is
space.
true.
That's kind
The
of like,
beach becomes your yard.
that's right. That's
You
how
just
they
can't put a pool
rationalize
in it.
Yeah,
The pool's already there.
yeah. You have the world's largest pool, in your backyard, and so outdoor space was not only important for entertaining guests, but it was really for dogs. Because everyone during COVID got dogs.
Pets.
Yeah, they got pets, during COVID.
Oh,
And so then that trend stuck out here in LA,
Mhm.
especially. So that was why that was such a big. So second
Yeah.
most important after
Yeah.
your kids in the bedrooms is your dog.
Well, and especially if you don't have kids, dogs become even a bigger priority because they are your kids.
They are.
So they become that. It's almost like needing an extra bedroom, like you said, in a house. The yard is like a bedroom.
That's right. So
You
it's
put
funny
the dog
because
house, the Snoopy dog house.
yeah,
right?
in my duplex in Marina Del Rey, have one 770 square foot 2 bed 2 bath in the back but it has a private yard. I have a bigger 1,100 square foot, 2 bed, 2 bath in the front. The back one was way easier to rent. And you're talking
Mhm.
about a major square footage difference. But again, for the 2 bedroom, 2 bath
Right,
client, no kids, right? So like they're just like, they just wanted that yard.
right.
And that was more important than my front unit, which didn't
Yeah,
have a private yard, which I'm in the middle of building. I'm going to build a secluded front
yeah,
yard because I now know how much value it adds for a renter. It's so important. So, right,
yeah.
so then buyers value that same thing, and then kind of so that would be second highest priority, I would say,
Mm.
and then like third would be like that interior functionality in terms of like how your kitchen lives with your living room.
Like
Exactly, plan,
walls, but those
segmented.
are, I've done. I'm gonna be going through all the homes that are on the Brevoort homes that I've done, and kind of break down what I did and why, and they've all been, pretty successful. Some, a lot more than others,
Hmm.
um, but I did learn, if you are buying like an older home and you have a good, contractor, or maybe you are yourself, is if you learn like where all the structural parts are of the home. It's called bones, right?
Yes,
Good bones.
yes,
So if the house has good bones and you have the vision
yes,
and you're like, oh, like I can just take this wall out right here. Like literally with a skill saw and it won't
exactly,
affect the structure of the house.
exactly.
Yeah.
I have been trying.
And you can pull permits for your own work, and I think some people don't know that,
Right.
You can just go down to the city, fill out a form, say, "I'm taking this wall out." Inspector will come, and
I just
boom,
learned that.
you can sign off on
I
it.
just got
Yeah,
approval on my own
yeah,
permit without an architect, all on my
yeah.
own. I used a little
It's
Bluebeam
owner
PDF
builder.
SketchUp. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I wasn't doing anything that
yeah.
material.
You don't have to have a contractor license.
Correct.
You just have to follow code.
You do.
Yeah,
Exactly. And so, like improvements like that, I try, Justin. I
yeah,
try to convince, my buyers. I will tell you, it is hard. A lot of them, even though I tell them that I have the ability to help them renovate all the contractors that they would need to get it done, the permitting I could even
right,
do for them,
right.
it still comes down to
Yeah,
like, oh, I just don't want to deal with the hassle. Like,
yeah,
I want to be in there day
right.
one. And it's like, oh gosh, like I can't even convince them. Cause like, so what happened with that
Mhm.
42 offer home,
Yeah,
2 doors down, there was a house on the market, 80 days on the market. Why? Because it wasn't renovated and it was in its
yeah,
original
yeah.
condition. And so I took the same buyers and said, okay, that home has been on the market. So we can negotiate that one. Do you really want to, will you really feel good about the home that you won and beat out 42 other people? Or should we go to the one that no everyone's ignoring because
Right,
no one spent the renovation, like the time to want to
right.
renovate it? So we took them in there, and exactly what you were describing. I tried to paint the vision for them. I was like,
Mhm,
"Hey, this house actually has really good bones." And so the kitchen is small, yes, right now, and so is the living room and the
mhm.
dining area. But all we need to do is pop this section out,
Right.
right? Like if we just push this corner of this house and you're still well within the setback requirements, like it
Mhm.
can easily be done. You're not
Right,
talking about like an intensive project. And so I told him for 100 grand, you can make this house look like the one that you just lost on.
right. And it's brand new.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. And it's yours.
right.
You don't have
It's
to
your vision.
question someone else's product and whether they cut corners and did shitty work. I can give you qualified people and you can be proud of the work that you're going to do and use my guys and feel like this is your home and make it your own and make it better
Mhm.
than that one.
Well, now, especially with, there's all this digital rendering you can do. I mean, with AI now, and these have been around for a while. I actually used one on my last remodel in Manhattan Beach here, a landscaping company, and it
Yeah.
was pretty cheap. I mean, it was only like a few $100, and they literally like did like 3D renderings of my house with landscaping and stuff,
Hmm.
and then you're like, oh, that's what it can look like.
Yeah.
So
And I
that
think you're
definitely
you're
helped.
nailed it. I think they need that.
Yeah,
Because like me going in there and
yeah,
trying to describe what I'm going to do,
right.
it doesn't get
They need
the
to see
image in their head.
pictures.
They do. They
Yeah,
do. That's the
there's a
problem.
whole, just chain of, you've got people that want houses, but you have people that know nothing about houses, have no vision. They're not architecturally and design friendly people. They want turnkey.
That's right.
And that's where, interior designers and people that do flips, that's where they make good money,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
they just are like, boom, it's right here.
That's right.
And you don't have to do anything other than move in.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
then there's other people that, like you said, I would be your client on that cheap one
Correct.
that has good bones,
Yeah. Because you
and
can
be
see
like,
the
"Oh my
vision like I
god,
would. Yeah.
like, I'm gonna get a smoking deal on this place,
Yeah. I'm gonna make it
and
look
all I
better
have
than
to
that
do
one.
is bang out 2 walls, and I'll buy a brand new kitchen, and the discount I'm getting from not buying this other full turnkey house is going to pay for a fraction of that, you know?
And the beauty is you already
Yeah.
have your data point.
Yeah.
Like once you're done with your renovations, you
Mhm.
know what it can transact for,
Yeah.
right? And so like it's like, oh, that's the after repair value.
Yeah.
2 doors down. Like they got that and I just made it better than that. So like once you put in that equity and got it renovated, you know, okay, that's your immediate appreciation. So like that, unfortunately, I still couldn't get them over the hump on that, you know? And that's kind of the thing is like, and that's why you see that dynamic is like 40 other people thought the exact same way. They're just overlooking this, you know,
Yeah.
this what they deem as a piece of shit, and they're just looking at this attractive. Oh, it's all turnkey, and they just that's
Yeah.
what attracts people all day.
Yeah, that's something to learn, you know, whether you're a realtor or you're just a home buyer. But, you know, I have friends that make really good money and some of them don't even want to buy a house. Like cause they want everything to just be like done. Like they'll move into like a brand new finished rental or whatever. And cause they don't have an interest in real estate.
Right,
I mean,
right.
they see it, they know it's a investment and all these things, but, you know, it's kind of like I have a friend who's a professional, money manager, you know, he's done very well and you know, he'd rather put his money into, you know, the markets because he's a professional. Like he
He
knows he's
knows
on it. Like
he can
he
control
works
his
like
destiny
12
there.
hours a day, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
managing like and everybody's money. But like he doesn't know anything about architecture. Like he's just completely lost. And we've been friends. He's one of my best friends. I've known him for like 30 years. And we always when we talk about it, you know, because he does eventually want to have a house, but he's like, man, I don't know the first thing to like think about. You know,
Yeah.
it needs to be presented to him in
Correct.
like a visual format.
Correct.
And then he'll be like, I like that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. But I mean, see,
Then he doesn't want to
hopefully.
go through any like picking out anything, you know.
Yeah, but as a savvy investor, you know, maybe he'll come around to like, okay, I believe Justin and his
Oh, he
vision,
definitely
right? Yeah, and
believes
he's like,
me.
I trust
He's
his
watched
vision to
every
make
house
it.
I've ever done.
There you go. Exactly, right? And so it's like that's where you're going to get value right
Yeah,
now, right? And so it's like you're not going to feel happy. You shouldn't feel happy beating 40 other people on a home. Like that's a bad
yeah,
investment. You probably overpaid.
yeah,
You know, the listing agents are stoked because
yeah.
mission accomplished.
Well, it's again, back to the FOMO, right? It's no different than chasing a stock. When you see a stock going up and you're like, I got to buy this, you know,
Yeah,
whether it's Bitcoin or it's, you know, just any stock
right,
that just gets hyperbolic.
right.
And you're like, you know, if I don't get
Yeah.
in now,
The frenzy, I'm going to miss
the
it.
whole I don't get in now kind of
Yeah.
thing. And you have to be with real estate. Yes, over time, it has a good curve, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
But, you know, like we're, you know, talking about before, you have to be willing. You don't want to overpay. You want the house to have potential and you want to know that you're getting a good deal, you know? And then it's right for growth
Mhm.
because if for some reason your job changes, you don't have as much money, you have kids, something and it's not sustainable, you want to buffer in when you're getting looking around and shopping.
Correct.
You want to keep all those things into consideration.
So, on the last topic of your last episode, this
Mhm.
is exactly the dynamic, right?
Mhm.
It's you're going to be in this house for more than 5 years,
Yeah,
right? Go in it with that mentality.
right.
So, if you bought the more dilapidated house and then did your own renovations and you got a killer deal and your basis was lower, therefore your monthly
Right.
payment was lower,
Yep.
right? But a lower interest rate.
Yep.
And then you already knew you earned that immediate equity appreciation
Yes.
versus the home that everybody overpaid on. This person has a extraordinary monthly payment, right? So 5 years,
Mhm.
who is better to stand the test of time? There's the guy who got a favorable basis. Maybe life happens, but hey, it's okay. I got a good
Right.
deal on this home. I can stay in here for 5 years. I can weather things out. Maybe somebody loses their job or something, but hey, it's okay. My monthly payment, I can stomach
Right.
this. This person that overpaid, they probably can. Oh gosh, something happened, and that's like I'm forced to now sell. And what's going
Mhm.
to likely happen with the home that was overpaid for?
Mhm.
You probably sell it at a loss
Yeah.
because you overpaid from the get go.
Yeah. You're under pressure.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to live within your means, you know? And I think that's one thing that a lot of people just and real estate's beautiful. I mean, that's why we both love it and we're in it.
Yeah.
We own homes. We've bought and sold homes and that's our world. And it's fun and it's cool, but it's like um if you're whether you're a first home buyer or you got like a really cool job and now you all of a sudden you think you can afford all this stuff, it's like going out and buying a bunch of sports cars and stuff, and then you get fired 2 years later or something, right? Like
Yep.
It's just, and it is a good investment, but it has to be done properly. Like you
Correct.
said, like you want to, it's no different than stock. You buy low and you see gain and you get a good interest rate and you live within your means and you make sure that that home has the strongest interest. So location,
Hmm.
right? We didn't even talk about like location. So location, I mean,
The
you've
most,
heard this
yeah,
location,
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 location, location.
location, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So by the beach
right,
in an urban area that's close to a lot of big jobs,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Easily commutable if you live rural,
yes,
right?
yeah,
I don't know, like the dynamics of every city
it is. Yeah,
is unpredictable, but
yeah,
it's like there's just certain stuff, views,
right,
right?
right.
Whether
We
it's a
didn't,
forest or it's the ocean or
yeah.
it's a lake or is it near a resort town like a ski area or somewhere where you can short-term rent?
I'm glad you brought this up because it
Yeah.
is such a basic, we didn't mention location, but obviously
Mhm.
that's like the most obvious factor for real estate.
Mhm.
The location is the most important
Right.
thing because that will
How
really
far is it
mitigate
from my
risk. Yeah.
work? That
And
always comes up, I'm
it,
sure.
so bingo,
How
that's,
far is it from the
yeah,
schools
you
for
went
the
for
kids?
exactly where I was headed, which is I think the most important things when it comes to location is where is the local economy?
Mhm.
Is there an economy? And when I say that, what I mean is jobs. Where are you in proximity to jobs? Are you in LA entertainment, right? All that stuff. And
Mhm.
we're close to, studios and there's a lot of jobs around this area,
Mhm.
west side of LA in particular. And so you're always going to have that demand and affluent renters. And so if you ever needed to, even though you intend to be in this home for more than 5 years, if I needed to rent it out because I still wanted to own it because
Mhm.
life happened and I need to move somewhere temporarily,
Mhm.
can I rent it out?
Right.
Great. You have a great location,
Mhm.
good schools. That's second, like right up there, right? So then when you start talking about
Right.
families, people who care about schools, bam, that's right up there after
Right.
employment. And
Right.
so those are the most important things. And naturally, sometimes in these regions like coastal and all that stuff, like
Mhm.
you have the employment centers here as well. It just kind of
Mhm.
naturally
Yeah, you
tends
have
to
a
follow
kinda
these
combo
geographies.
area,
Yeah, like
right?
where proximity to freeways, that's kind of how these employment centers get built out. And
Mhm.
that's where these companies decide to go. And then so, yes, and then that,
Right.
that's kind of right up there too, the geography
Well,
of
you
it.
made a good point of like if shit goes sideways, which can happen anytime, whether it's a divorce or it's health or it's work or
Work. Yeah.
it's finance, anything you want it to be able to be rentable.
Yes.
If for some reason you don't want to take a hit on trying to dump it if the economy's
Correct.
not good.
Yeah. You don't want
And
to be
you can
forced to
still
give it
make
up.
good rents. We'll do an episode about rentals because
Yeah.
you have your own property management company and that's a whole other world which is good and so that's another element
Yeah.
that is kind of connected to location
Right.
and is kind of a buffer in case you get in over your head and need to kind of downsize but you don't want to unload quickly and because the economy is maybe going sideways at that point
That's
or
right. So then the same thing, you go back to my two
yeah,
examples. The person with the lower monthly payment because they got in lower because
right,
they decided to renovate
yes,
on
it's
their
more
own.
sustainable.
Exactly. That
Yeah,
rent can probably cover a lot more of that versus
yes,
the person that overpaid. That rent is still not going to cover. And if they
right,
fall into a distressed situation, doesn't matter. They have to give it up.
yeah, yeah,
Very likely at a
yeah.
loss. Yeah.
All right, good. Well, I think that concludes a cool episode of kind of some FOMO things to avoid and
Yeah.
some great advice from Julian as always from his experience. And we will conclude with that and see you on the next episode.
Thanks for having me.